All right, it's day 2 of the World Economic Forum on Africa, currently being held in Cape Town. Let's get an update now from our anchor, Nompumelelo Siziba, in Cape Town in the International Convention Centre. Nompu, tell us what's been happening today.
Thanks very much, Francis. Well, there's a hive of activity, of course, lots of meetings being had and panels being done on a number of issues. But the underpin, of course, is the fourth industrial revolution. It has been a theme of the World Economic Forum for a number of years now. But what they're talking about is how you shape economic growth and you ensure that, there's a shared future in that economic growth that's being shaped with the fourth industrial revolution as a key underpin. And they're basically trying to apply the fourth industrial revolutions right across all the sectors that affect the African continent. And of course, one area that's of particular interest to us is the area of energy, which of course we need in the African economy and anywhere else. In order to power economies, we need to be more industrialized and so on and so forth. So without any further ado, I'm going to be speaking now with the Minister of Energy and Power Development in Zimbabwe. His name is Chasi. Thanks very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Good stuff. So now we've come to understand that in Zimbabwe, long power outages have become the order of the day. Just tell us what the latest situation is and what short-term measures you've been putting in place as a result.
Thank you very much. Our challenges in the power sector originate from fundamentally two situations. The first one is the hydrological condition of Kariba Dam, which was a very important part of our power generation.
Of course, that was affected by the drought.
Yes, and climate change. And so it has really been depleting over the years to the extent that now it's just slightly above 20% of live water, which is what is used for generation purposes. The second aspect is relating to antiquated thermals and equipment in that area. And so we are doing a lot of work to revamp that side of things. We can't do much on the Kariba side because we can't make water. And so we've begun to rely on investments in renewables, yes, particularly solar, small grids that are quickly deployed so that we deal with the deficit that we have. But our aim is really to become a net exporter of power.
Yes.
And we have no doubt that we'll come out of this rut and that we'll be able to help other African countries.
So in the meantime, what's the long-term investment plan around the energy sector? And what about access to fund to be able to make the necessary investment so that you can be that net exporter of power you're talking about?
Yes. In the long term, we're actually working on an integrated resource plan, which we haven't had. And so this basically speaks to us developing a good mix of energies: solar, gas, wind, and so forth. And so all of them are areas of opportunity for investors in our country. Some of them can be done fairly quickly, but we're not forgetting about hydro. Work will soon be beginning on the Batoka project, which is a project between Zimbabwe and Zambia.
Okay.
The majority of our people have got no access to power, particularly those in the rural areas.
Yes.
So in terms of opportunities, that presents a huge opportunity for those that have an appetite. As we say in Zimbabwe, we're open for business and we're doing everything that we can to ensure that we are the proper destination for investment.
And this is really essential for Zimbabwe. I mean, it was once a country that fed the rest of the continent.
Yes.
And then, of course, we know the history, we know what happened, and
yes,
things have changed.
Yes.
But you want to go back to that situation where you have access to water, good irrigation, etc.,
yes,
so that people, smallholder farmers can be able to produce farming of crops and
yes,
sell beyond that.
Definitely, this is the plan. As you know, we've had a land reform program, and one of the key things in order to ensure that we have sufficient food for our people, to ensure food security for our country, is to ensure that farmers are powered enough to produce. And so we're looking at investors who can come and organize the deployment of power around farming communities because power is not an end in itself.
Yes.
Power must be there to ignite and encourage economic activity.
That's right.
So it's a very critical success factor for us. So everywhere within the towns and the rural areas, the farming communities, we are working on ensuring that we have got sustainable energy for all our people.
Very quickly, sir, what lessons are you drawing from this forum, which is all about, the future in terms of, the fourth industrial revolution?
Yes.
Of course, it's still happening now as
Yes.
well. What lessons are you drawing that you can take back to Zimbabwe that can allow you to pick the low-hanging fruit and, make the economy more viable?
The major lesson is the recognition that technology has a big role to play in almost every part of the chain of the production of power and its deployment. So we're looking also at issues of storage, which technologies are really not available at the moment. We're looking at technologies that reduce commercial losses and also deal with vandalism to power equipment. So we're also looking at electrical cars, and we've already started developing the relevant policy and the regulations, and we want to encourage investment in that area. As you know, we also have challenges on the fuel side in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
So we are looking at coming up with a program that allows people to charge from a solar charger, and we lay them out on the highways of Zimbabwe. So
I often visit Zimbabwe. It'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see electric cars there one day. Thank you very
You're
much,
most
sir,
welcome.
for your time. That was
you.
Fortune Chasi. He's the Minister of Energy and Power Development in Zimbabwe. It's over to you, Francis.